Coming up on Messenger, in today's episode, we celebrate Priscilla, a tent maker who used her skills and resources to spread the gospel. Her story is a powerful reminder that God calls each of us to serve in unique ways. Plus, we're joined by Pastor Robert Zama, who will discuss how we can actively serve as we wait for Christ's return. He'll also share insights on Pentecost 2025 and the exciting evangelistic initiatives happening across Canada. You won't want to miss this episode filled with inspiration, service, and faith. Hello and welcome to Messenger. I'm Adriana and I'm so glad you're joining us for another inspiring episode. Today we're talking about Priscilla, a woman who didn't just hear the gospel but lived it. She was a tent maker alongside her husband Aquila, and she used her trade as a platform for ministry. She welcomed Paul into her home, supported his work, and even taught others about Jesus. Priscilla's story reminds us that we don't have to be pastors or evangelists to make a difference. God can use whatever talents and resources we have to spread his love. Whether in our workplaces, our communities, or our everyday interactions, we are called to be messengers of faith. Today, we'll explore how we can serve with what we have. We'll hear from pathfinders who are growing in faith through service. Get the latest ADRIC news, and sit down with Pastor Robert Zama for a conversation about evangelism, outreach, and Pentecost 2025. Let's get started. Today, Naomi Zita will challenge pathfinders to think about how they can use their unique gifts to serve others. Let's join them now.
Hi Pathfinders and welcome back. Today we're doing something special. We're exploring stories about women in the Bible who made a big impact for God. One of these amazing women is Priscilla. She worked alongside her husband Aquila and used her talents to help spread the gospel. Let's get right into her story. Priscilla and her husband Aquila were good friends of the Apostle Paul. In fact, they worked together as tent makers. Back in those days, tents were very essential. People needed them for travel, markets, and even homes. Priscilla and Aquila were skilled in their craft and worked hard to make high-quality tents. But here's the amazing part. They didn't just keep their earnings for themselves. They used their money to support Paul's ministry and spread the gospel wherever they went. Priscilla and Aquila also worked as missionaries. They traveled with Paul to share the good news and even taught a man named Apollos more about Jesus. Now, Apollos became a great preacher thanks to what he learned from Priscilla and Aquila. Since we're talking about tents, did you know there's a tent honor you can earn as a Pathfinder? This honor teaches you practical skills about tents, and we've already started with part of it by learning about Priscilla and Aquila's tent making. To complete part of the tent honor, you will need to classify 3 types of tents and how to put them up. To get you started, here are 3 common types of tents. First up is the dome tent. Now it's quite easy to set up and very stable in windy conditions. It's great for camping in most weather, but it doesn't have as much interior space, so you may be a bit cramped in it. Another type of tent is an A-frame tent. This is your classic triangular tent, but it is lightweight and good for hikers. But it can be cramped inside as well. Lastly, we have the cabin tent. Now this style is spacious and great for families or groups. It feels like a mini house, but it's heavier and harder to set up. When putting up a tent, remember to choose flat ground and secure it with stakes. And make sure the rain flies on properly if you want to stay dry. So you've already started part 1 of the tent honor by learning about the types of tents and how to set them up. To complete the rest of the requirements, talk to your Pathfinder guide. They'll help you learn more and guide you through the steps to earn your honor. Priscilla's story shows us that our skills and hard work can have a big impact for God. Just like she and Aquila used their tent making to support Paul and share the gospel, we can use our own talents to make a difference in the world. As you work on the tent honor and learn more about camping, think about how you can use these skills to help others, whether it's helping your family set up camp, teaching a friend something new, or using your creativity to serve. Your talents can make a big difference. Let's follow Priscilla's example by using our skills for God's mission. Who knows what amazing things He'll do through you? Well, that's it for today, so I'll see you next time, Pathfinders.
Thank you, Pathfinders, for that inspiring lesson. It's always incredible to see young people stepping up to serve. Now, let's turn our attention to ADRA News. Across Canada and around the world, ADRA is making a difference in communities by providing resources, education, and emergency aid. Their work is a true reflection of the gospel in action. Let's check out what ADRA has been up to and how we can be part of their mission to serve those in need.
Sure, absolutely. So our motto, and you can go into any of the 118 licensed offices around the globe and you will find the exact same motto and the exact same purpose statement. So the purpose statement is to serve humanity so all may live as God intended. And the motto is justice, compassion, and love. So in 2023, we launched our Year of Justice, Creating a Just World. And then last year in 2024, we had our Year of Compassion in Action. And then this year, we've launched into love, and it's love without limits. So we're pushing our churches to go beyond the limits of their walls and to really showcase their love before the world. And so that's kind of what is anchoring this year and in our key messaging pieces that go out. Such a great question. You know, oftentimes when you look at war-torn countries or countries where there's a lot of conflict, and so you have people having to flee their homes, so loss of shelter, loss of loved ones, loss of food, loss of things that we would consider necessities, right? So you lose your entire stability. To go through traumatic events like that, it takes a lot of human resilience. It takes a lot of emotional, mental exhaustion. And so when we respond to some of these countries, for example, in Ukraine and the conflict that's happening there, in Sudan and the crisis that is taking place there, many countries around the globe, another one is Yemen, right, that are experiencing 10 years they've been in conflict. And so many of these countries, you have children, you have who've lost mothers or fathers, spouses who've lost husbands or wives. So for the last couple of years, we've had a team from ADRA Canada actually go to Ukraine and visit. And I'll never forget a few years ago when the conflict first broke out, when a part of our leadership team went there, they were, ushered into bomb shelters, extreme security measures that were taken as a result of being in this conflict country. On an app, you can track where missiles are going to land. And so just being there for those, brief moments, so maybe a couple of weeks, you experience some traumatic things yourself. And so one of the key pillars that we have a part of our international program and a part of our national program is psychosocial support. And so providing mental, psychological support for those individuals who have really suffered some very traumatic events in their lives. And so we desire people to feel healthy and whole, even through conflict and trauma, right? And so providing that we have found to become even more essential as Earth's history is unfolding even more dynamically. And so with our national program, we have 5 pillars. And mental health, even here at home in Canada, is one of the very significant at-risk at-risk teens, at-risk moms, right? At-risk homes that are in poverty. And so that essence of psychosocial support is such a key, even here in Canada. So address staying resilient means that we have to be healthy and whole, right? That we have to be committed Christians. Our administrative committee takes multiple times and just we fast and we pray together, right? Our leadership team, and then as an entire body staff as well, we take moments to fast and pray. At ADRA Canada, every single morning during our staff devotional worship, we take a country office. And we pray intentionally for that ADRA office. You heard me say earlier that we have 118 licensed offices currently around the globe. And so we take a morning and we pray intentionally for that office, the challenges they may face, some of the successes, some of even the initiatives and programs and projects that they're implementing. And so in order for us to remain resilient ourselves, we have to make sure that we're connected, right? That we're connected to Christ, that we're healthy and whole, and that we're taking the time that we need to be healthy. And so part of that means, mental health for ourselves. So for example, a couple of years ago at Christmas time, we had Paradise Health come in. And for our whole staff, we did, kind of a physiological and a mental health check, right? And we did natural specialists and doctors who came in to minister to the needs of our staff. So being proactive when it comes to health ourselves causes us to be even more resilient when we face these kinds of situations. And then, of course, we have emergency trainings that we go through, right? So making sure that we're prepared when we enter those kinds of areas. This is where I come in as the philanthropy and marketing director. So you can follow us on all social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, any meta platform at all, YouTube, Vimeo, we're talking about, Twitter, or X. And so just making sure that you follow on those platforms. We're fairly active, as well as going to our website, adra.ca. And you go right there to the home and you can look up our accountability, our 2023 to 2006 highly designed strategic plan so you know where ADRA is headed, our annual report with all transparency documents and financials connected to it, and really go to our adra.ca/our story. Our work. Our work is such a key page. It shows a really interactive, dynamic map that you can just click the button and you can go right in and see what our projects are that are active. So we really love to see engagement. Of course, you can always email us. We send out our newsletter. This April, we're launching an ADRA Canada journal that we're excited about launching. We'll be sending out in digital, and then we'll send it twice in print this coming 2025-26 fiscal year. So some good things happening. So if you really want to know, you can certainly email me, teresa.ferreira@adra.ca, and then anybody else on the ADRA Canada staff. We're always willing to take calls and to engage with our loyal constituency and donors.
What an incredible reminder that faith is not just about what we believe, but about how we live. Service is at the heart of our faith, and that brings us to our next conversation. Today, we're joined by Pastor Zama, who will share how we can actively serve as we wait for Christ's return. We'll also hear more about Pentecost 2025, a major initiative for evangelism in Canada. Pastor Zama, welcome to Messenger. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Can you discuss the idea that occupied time feels shorter than unoccupied time? And how do you think this concept applies to waiting for Christ's return?
Yeah, thank you so much, Adriana. I think that's a very human experience. We all experience that anticipation, that anxiety of waiting for something. And sometimes when it takes a long time, we can get discouraged. We can have anxiety build up. For example, the article talks about waiting for your luggage, but it's the same for restaurants. Sometimes in restaurants, you can get these little pucks that buzz when your table is open. Have you ever been
Yeah, I've experienced that.
So they give you that because they know that you might want to look around. Maybe it's in a mall or something. And if you go away and you have something else to do in the meantime, it distracts you. It takes your focus off of just that waiting. And by being distracted, you're able to do that occupy time, that waiting feels a lot shorter.
Yes.
There's an old theologian back in the early 1900s who said, best definition of evangelism in Christianity. He says, Christianity really boils down to this. It's one beggar telling another beggar where he found bread. And I think if we just embodied that, we just focused on telling other people where we found hope and value and purpose and meaning, the waiting for Jesus' return is minimized. We're not as discouraged and anxious, when is he going to come? Because we're focused on sharing the good news. So
exactly. And Christians should not wait in idle expectancy, but in active service. How do you see this principle being lived out in churches today?
Yes, so we're really excited because Pentecost 2025 is the focus of 2025. And there are already 400 churches across Canada who are involved in this initiative.
Wow.
Now, we're excited because that means that out of the 600 or so churches and companies that make up Canadian churches, Seventh-day Adventist churches in Canada, 400 are saying we have a plan to do public proclamation, to be intentional about evangelism. Now, does it mean that the other churches who didn't sign up aren't doing evangelism? Not at all. There's a lot of churches who are engaged in saying, okay, this year we might not be focused on public proclamation, but we are focused on strengthening our beliefs, strengthening our people, investing in community engagement, community outreach, building those friendships. And so, all across Canada, churches are saying, yes, we want to make this a focus of our year. We want to tell other people about Jesus.
That's amazing. Pentecost 2025 is a major initiative for the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada. Can you share more about its goals and how it will impact congregations across the country?
Sure, yeah. Canada is involved in Pentecost 2025, but it didn't originate in Canada. It actually originated at the headquarters of the North American division of Seventh-day Adventists. And really their goal was to help engage and equip 3,000 churches and entities to be intentional on public proclamation, on telling people in their communities, these entities and churches, telling people about the good news of Jesus Christ. So it started there, and Canada said, hey, we want to be a part of this. Of course, we're part of the North American division of Seventh-day Adventists. And so we're really excited because the North American division didn't just invite churches and entities to say, we want you to do evangelism. No, they said, we want you to do it, but we're going to equip you. And so they mail you, when you sign up, a box. It's about this big, and it's filled with resources, advertising material. They give you all the sermons, trainings. They have regular trainings on their website. They have resources for you to buy materials to help, bolster your evangelism efforts when people come to your church and do things like that. So this is an exciting opportunity because all across the North American division, we are seeing churches. There's more. They had a goal of 3,000. We're well over 4,000 now. So there's a lot of people that are getting excited about this. There's momentum. And we just want to tell people about Jesus. And this is one way to do it.
That's excellent. Over 4,000.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The article mentions that evangelism is not just an event, but a way of life. What are some practical ways individuals and churches can embrace evangelism in their daily lives?
Yeah, that is a great question. So at Hope Channel Canada and Messenger, we don't see evangelism as a one-time event. Evangelism doesn't start when someone starts a Bible study with someone and then ends after baptism. It's more than that. It's not an event. It's a lifestyle. It's who we are. It's everything that we do. At Hope Channel Canada, we actually have a cycle. So whenever we partner with a church to do evangelism, we have a cycle that we go through. It's an acronym that spells HOPE, H-O-P-E. H stands for healing. That's kind of the first step. I think the first step in evangelism is healing our relationship with God and getting on fire for him, and then also healing our relationship with each other in the church. We
Yes.
want our churches to be healthy churches. And then O is outreach. Two things. Number one, understand your community, and then meet your community's needs. You have to understand your community and then see maybe how our church has been gifted and called to meet our community at an intersection point of need.
Right.
And then P is proclamation, presenting Jesus, whether that's personally through Bible study or publicly through a series of meetings. And then E is just empowering and equipping new people who maybe are baptized, who come into the church to become disciple makers. And so this whole discipleship process, this journey is what we really focus on.
That's wonderful. Hope Channel Canada is playing a big role in spreading the message of hope. What are some of the key evangelistic efforts planned for 2025?
Hope Channel Canada is really excited. I'm really excited because we're partnering with two conferences in Canada, two provincial conferences. One of them is Alberta, and the president there is Pastor Jeff Potts. And then we have the Maritime Conference, which is New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Nova Scotia. And the president there is Pastor Dave Miller. So we partner with these two men. They are on fire for evangelism, and we are going in to do evangelistic meetings in these provinces. In the spring, we're going to be in the Maritime Conference, so we're going to have speakers. We're going to be boots on the ground. We're going to be preaching and teaching and inviting people to make decisions in all three provinces in the Maritime Conference, and then also in the Edmonton area in Alberta. So it's a citywide event. We're bringing speakers. I'll be one of the speakers. Pastor Paul Antunes will be one, and then Pastor Samuel Sinanar will be another, and other volunteer speakers and pastors as well. So this is a big initiative, but it's not just preaching. It's also a bridge event that leads up to a series. It's training events. It's going through the entire Hope study, Hope Channel curriculum, or the journey, the evangelism journey. Not only that, we had a January revival series with Paul Antunes that we are inviting churches to participate in. There's going to be an Easter one, and then a fall series with me as well. And we're not just inviting churches to be a part of this and to watch and to spread the news to their neighbors, but we're giving churches all of our materials so they can preach it, they can teach this stuff.
There's a strong emphasis on community outreach and engagement. How important is it for churches to be actively involved in their local communities? And what are some ways they can do so effectively?
It is very important, very important. And really the bottom line is that whenever we're doing, like, for instance, Bible studies or seminars or a series in our church, we don't want the community to hear from us for the first time as an invitation to one of these. I think it works a lot better if the community understands that we are there to add value to their lives, because this is what Jesus called us to do. And so if they see an advertisement from our church, we don't want them to be like, oh, who are these people? You know, what do they want? It's more like, wow, they have added so much value to my life that I definitely want to be there because I know they have my best interest at heart. And so there's a couple of quotes. Sean Brace, an author, he said once, and a pastor, I believe, he said that, the church doesn't have a mission. The mission has a church. That is a radically new way of looking at mission, right? We are participating as a church in the mission that God has set up. The church is just an avenue, a conduit for God's mission to be played out in the community. Also, I love this quote by Ellen White. She says in Desire of Ages, page 70, she talks about Jesus. She says that from his earliest years, Jesus was possessed of one thing. He lived to bless others. Wouldn't it be amazing if people knew our churches as centers that lived to bless others? I think if we were known as centers of blessing in our communities, when we invite them to come to an event, they would be there, no questions asked, because they want to be a part of that blessing. So I think it's crucial. I think it's very important for our churches to be in the community and find ways where they can intersect that need in their community. But first, they have to understand their community. They have to study it to know that.
That's so powerful. Yeah. And looking ahead, what is your biggest hope for this evangelistic movement in 2025? And how can church members contribute to its success?
There's several ways to get involved in this. I think the first part of your question is what I'm looking forward to. Honestly, I'm looking forward to a spiritual revival, a spiritual revolution in Canada. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, we know that Jesus is coming soon, and just to raise the spiritual temperature in Canada, I'm expecting and anticipating stories of people's lives being transformed
Right.
because of churches that are saying, hey, I want to do something in our community. I want to tell people about where I found value, where I found bread, so to speak, right? So I think I'm looking forward to hearing stories of transformation, stories of people giving their lives to Jesus, baptisms. I'm looking forward to hearing what difference Jesus made in their lives and how they now are taking that and sharing it with their own friends. And the second part of that question is there's several ways to get involved. Agentsofhope.ca is a way that people can plug in and become volunteers. And also, I think the biggest way is for people to get involved in their own local church. Whatever
Yes.
your local church is doing, they need volunteers. They need your help to be involved and to say, hey, I'm willing to do, maybe these are my gifts. And for the church to at least know that and to do our part in telling people that in Jesus, there's more to life. That's basically what it comes down to.
That's awesome. Pastor Zama, thank you so much for sharing these incredible insights. It's inspiring to hear how churches and individuals can be part of something bigger, spreading the message of hope and faith across Canada. If you want to read more about the topics discussed today, check out the February issue of Canadian Adventist Messenger. As we wrap up today's episode, Priscilla's story challenges us to ask, how can we use what we have to serve God? She wasn't a preacher or a prophet, but she was a dedicated follower of Christ who made an incredible impact. Whether it's through Pathfinders, address outreach, or evangelism efforts such as Pentecost 2025, we all have a role to play in sharing the gospel. God doesn't just call pastors, he calls every one of us to be a part of his mission. If today's discussion has inspired you, consider subscribing to the Canadian Adventist Messenger Magazine. You can receive a free subscription through your local Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada or opt for a yearly subscription for just $20. You can also make a difference by becoming an agent of hope and supporting this ministry. Your participation helps us continue spreading God's love and message of hope. To donate, visit agentsofhope.ca, where you can give by debit, credit, Apple Pay, or Google Pay. E-transfers are also accepted at agentsofhope@hopetv.ca. You can mail a check payable to Hope Channel Canada to the following address: Hope Channel Canada, 1148 King Street East, Oshawa, Ontario, L1H 1H8. Or give us a call at 1-855-4HOPE-TV. That's 1-855-446-7388. Thank you for being with us today. Keep spreading hope and being a messenger in your community.